Welcome back to Comical Opinions. This is Gabe Hernandez, and today we have a review of Cobra Commander #2 from Image Comics. And in this issue, Cobra Commander and his Cobra Law bodyguard draw close to finding the source of energon that they detected in the Florida swamp, but they come across a group of bloodthirsty mercenaries that might get in the way of finding their prize. So that's where we are. But before we get started, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell for notification. Your attention is greatly appreciated. And make sure to stay to the end for the final rating and score. So let's get into the credits before we get started with the story. Cobra Commander #2 is written by Joshua Williamson, art by Andrea Milana, colors by Annalisa Leone, letters by Russ Wooten, and the main cover is also drawn by Andrea Molina with color assist from Annalisa Leone. Before we get started into the main issue, let's talk about what happened in the last issue. So in the brief beginning, we saw Cobra Commander killing a man outside of a bar to steal his vehicle for transportation as the prologue, which is our first introduction to Cobra Commander, which lets you know that he's a bloodthirsty killer as well as a single-minded despot. And then the rest of the issue was a flashback to Cobra Commander spending time in Cobra Law, where through his intervention with science that he brought from the outside world, that created a bit of social upheaval and maybe even the start of a small civil war. But it was all for a good cause, at least in his mind. And when he was brought before Globulus to answer for his crimes of science, if you will, we learned that Cobra Commander has discovered Energon. And he discovered Energon through the big reveal wow moment because he captured and brought in the body of Megatron, which may or may not still be active. We don't know. And his promise to Globulus was, let me out into the outside world. I'll find the Energon and bring it back, and that'll allow me to build uber powerful machines that will create an army for you to take over the world. And Globulus says, okay, go for it. And that's where we are. So where are we now? In this issue, Cobra Commander and his Cobra Law bodyguard make their way down to the Florida Everglades, where they search for the energy signature that would lead them to the Energon, which in Cobra Commander's description is transformative, whatever that means. So that has interesting potential. Just that little tidbit has interesting potential for the future. When they get deeper into the swamp and go down some back roads where maybe they're not welcome or they don't belong, they encounter the Dreadnoks, which are, for G.I. Joe fans, these are a ruthless, bloodthirsty group of mercenary killers that are sort of redneckish in nature and not afraid to use all kinds of manner of weapons and of the flesh-ripping variety, like chainsaws and chains and what have you. Well, after a brief skirmish where Cobra Commander throws some grenades and returns gunfire, he escapes deeper into the swamp, where the Dreadnoks are even the Dreadnoks are afraid to go, and eventually Cobra Commander finds what he believes is the source of the energon that he's been tracking, and unfortunately is at the bottom of a swampy pond that is infested with alligators who look like they've been infested with or infected with the energon energy. And now what that means for those alligators, or what that means for Cobra Commander or anything else, we'll find out, but that's the cliffhanger here. Interesting factoid as far as where does this story fit within the context of the regular G.I. Joe series and the Energon universe and everything else. It's not quite clear. The Dreadnoks definitely do not recognize Cobra Commander. So any past history of the Dreadnoks working with Cobra and Destro and all the other bigwig, or I should say leaders of Cobra, is not present here. The Dreadnoks are acting like they have no idea who Cobra Commander is, and they're still pretty much just working out of their swampy shack for weapons dealing and any kind of criminal activities you can think of. So as far as where this fits in the timeline from the history of the G.I. Joes and Cobra, this appears to either be a prequel, where this is all before Cobra really became the organization it will eventually become to be, or it's in some kind of alternate timeline where the Dreadnoks and Cobra never really partner up. I'm not quite sure. We'll find out. Anyway, so what do we think about the title? Joshua Williamson's character work and his character development of Cobra Commander, I think, is pretty spot on. Although this is a much more mature comic, and I'll talk about that in a second. Cobra Commander is arrogant. He's single-minded. He's not afraid of stepping over anyone or anything to get what he wants. And so, from the character work perspective, it's pretty on point. Just as a small aside, which is a matter of preference, not really a down point or a positive, is this is a pretty violent issue. There's lots of blood. You see corpses, mangled corpses, people's arms and even their heads are getting ripped off, all kinds of gruesome, violent activity. So this is definitely not the kids' cartoon that you're used to. It's not quite rated R. We've seen worse, definitely seen worse, because we review a lot of horror comics. But it's definitely not a comic book for kids. Let me put it that way, without some parental oversight. So be prepared for some gore and some gruesome, bloody violence. So those are the positives. Negatives, probably the only thing that we can think of as a negative, which is sort of a preference, not necessarily a flaw, is that the big wow moment of issue number 1 was the reveal that Cobra Commander was getting all his information from Megatron, because he has Megatron's body and he's able to tap into his brain, neural circuits or brain or what have you. None of that is paid off here. Cobra Commander is searching for Energon, and it's a very simple sort of scavenger hunt type quest in terms of plot. But the pieces that connected it to Megatron and the Transformers really isn't followed up in this issue. It was a connection that was established, but they don't do anything with it here. So if you're looking for more interconnectivity between Cobra Commander and the greater Energon universe, this issue really doesn't do much with it other than Cobra Commander is looking for Energon, which pretty much says it all. Let's talk about the art real quick. Andrea Milano's art is very consistent for Andrea Milano's art. So if you're familiar with Andrea Milano's art, you know what I'm talking about. If not, the line work is loose, sort of suggestive. It's not super detailed. It's not super clean pencils and inks. You know, get that here. The compositions are great, and where you need the sort of dramatic angles and the action to do what it needs to do to convey the points of the story, it all works. But if you're looking for sharp, clean, crisp lines and really eye-popping art, you don't get that here. That's not the kind of artist Milana is, for better or for worse. So you may see the art as a mixed bag. So final thoughts. What did we think about Cobra Commander number 2? It's entertaining. It's surprisingly violent, but in an entertaining kind of way, and it makes sense for the story. The search for the Energon is a pretty simple, basic plot, but it does what it needs to do, which is give you a jumping on point to explain who and what Cobra Commander is and what kind of a character he is. All the technical aspects of the writing are on point, and the art is good, okay to good. So not great, but it's good art. Therefore, we're going to give Cobra Commander number 2 a solid 8.5 out of 10. I hope you enjoyed this review. But before you leave, please like, share, comment, subscribe to Comical Opinions for more reviews and analysis every week. And you have a great day.